Phase 4. Whoa, wait, hold up. What is going on? Oh my gosh, Mark. Will, we are talking about Phase 4 today. I think what happened was I still had a tab open that was playing. So, not sloppy already. Phase 4. What exactly is Phase 4? That's what we're going to be discussing tonight. Welcome to MCU Pod, a companion podcast to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm your host, Grant Davis, and I'm joined once again by my good buddy, friend of the pod, and indie comics darling, Will Cardini.
Hey, everybody.
Will, how are things going with you?
Oh, good. Definitely good.
Yeah? Oh, I have some of your stuff here. I thought I'd pull up your work. Yeah. Tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself.
As you said, my name is Will Cardini. I'm an indie cartoonist, mainly dabbling in psychedelic sci-fi, and this is my first graphic novel, Vortex. It stars the Mizard as he journeys onto an alien planet, and like the MCU, all my comics are connected, and the Mizard and here the Mies is the antagonist, the Floating Crystal Witch, are seen battling on this cover of a collection of short comics that also takes place in the Hyperverse.
Awesome. Yeah. I think this works. I mean, you know about like world building and aliens and bringing all that together for entertainment, and I think that's what the MCU is doing here with Phase 4. I think we're going to dive in a little bit more and try and dissect what exactly their plan might be here, because you know we could certainly break apart what each of the phases were. But before we get into all that, today, folks, Marvel released a trailer / highlight reel / preview video thingy, I guess. It was called Marvel Studios Celebrates the Movies, and it was a 3-minute masturbatory celebration of themselves and the world that they've constructed over the past 13 years. It featured narration by the late Stan Lee about his vision of a world that brings people together. And it featured some never-before-seen clips from the upcoming movie Eternals, debuts of new titles for some upcoming films, and release dates. So, yeah, we thought, let's go ahead and talk about that. But first, I'm going to do a quick little bit of house cleaning. If you are checking us out over on YouTube, we do these episodes live. You can join us, and you can say hi in the comments. We are also available wherever you listen to your podcast. So if you want to go ahead and subscribe to us, you can subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/MCUpod. Hit that subscribe button. You can also subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcast. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, we should be there. Go ahead and hit subscribe. You can also rate and review us. It's a great way to help us out. And if you are wanting to support us a little bit more, you can go to patreon.com/MCUpod, and there you can make a per episode pledge. Boom. And if you or per month pledge rather, give us $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, and you can join the Defenders, Revengers, or Avengers. Maybe I'll have to add Eternals at one point as another category. Depends on if the movie's good. I think we'll wait and see if the movie's good. But we appreciate all the support that you guys have thrown our way thus far. It's very humbling, and we hope to do right by y'all. And provide a fun show talking about everything MCU. So, with all of that house cleaning out of the way, I wanted to go ahead and jump back to this trailer. So I'm not going to play the entire trailer, but I did want to go ahead and pull up kind of like the tail end of it and have us take a look, because I think that you know, we see a few little clips there, and it kind of does this big swell of excitement. So here, let me. This is what always gets us in like copyright trouble. I play these, and then they're like, "Oh no, you don't." So can I do full screen here? Boom. There we go. And then let's add that to the stream. All right. I love that transition back to the title screen. This title card.
So good.
I've lived a lot of lives. But I'm done running from my past. We have unfinished business. Who's we? When you love something,
Here we go. Oh,
Little snippet.
we're the ones who changed everything.
what did they change? That's a good punch.
I do think it's weird that that's what they decided to conclude on, that stomach punch that goes on there.
Here's some new movies.
So yeah, I mean, I was expecting that we were going to get a more full trailer for the Eternals, and maybe we are in the next day or two. But that's some real small snippets they gave us there. Maybe a little bit frustrating. But I don't know. I think overall, we should do some snap judgments. Mark, let's do some snap judgments. All right, Will, give us your give us your snap judgment on that trailer.
So when I first saw the trailer, I was, there's a Stan Lee narration, which is very cheesy, and Stan Lee is definitely a cornball. Rest in peace to him. But I also have very strong feelings about Stan Lee, as you well know.
You love the guy, right?
Well, it's a little complicated. Just I feel like he, didn't treat who in my mind is the real architect of the Marvel universe with as well as he should have. I'm talking about Jack Kirby, King of Comics, greatest cartoonist who ever lived. And so, Stan Lee kind of turned himself into this character, this spokesman for Marvel. And he took a credit for a lot of things that I feel like he shouldn't. And so it's just, seeing his name over all these clips, when it's so many creators were involved in coming up with these characters and these storylines, definitely gives me mixed feelings. But at the same time, his message, right, is good. Like he knew how to tug your heartstrings.
He's a good salesman. It's like Steve Jobs or whatever, right? They're kind of these monsters, but they're great salesmen.
Yes, for sure. And I don't know if Marvel or the MCU would exist in the same way, because that was kind of his thing, was like he really, really wanted there to be Marvel movies, and he moved to Hollywood, spent all this time talking to producers. There was like a Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie that he was responsible for. I mean, whenever I read comics from the 90s or late 80s, all the Stan soapboxes are about him trying to get talking about all these things in production. And it's just so ironic reading those now and seeing where it's become.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. So you think you were just kind of turned off already just hearing Stan Lee? Because I know he's very dear, near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, but I don't think a lot of people are as familiar with the back history, and they just think they know the surface level of Stan Lee was involved in a lot of these creations and these characters, and therefore he's great.
Right, exactly. I was in a comic book store once, and this guy was like, "Oh no, what are they going to do when Stan Lee passes away? where are they going to get the ideas for all the movies? Like, he thought Stanley did everything.
You're like eye twitching. You're like, no.
Yeah, I was just shaking my head in the long box. But and then the Eternals was Jack Kirby's first writer artist comic for Marvel, where he got credit for both of those jobs. So now that I think about it even more, it's extra ironic that they would have his quote and then new Eternals footage.
Right. I mean, did you think though that they might somehow I mean, Jack Kirby wasn't a talker. He doesn't. They probably don't have stuff of him like narrating all this.
No,
and even
of course,
if they did, it
not.
probably wouldn't be as eloquent or elegant to kind of pair with this.
Right, and that's one thing that people criticize about Jack Kirby's solo stuff is that his writing wasn't up to par. I mean, for me, I love it, but I get that. Even though they're wrong, I get it.
Well, I thought, I understand the beef, but I thought that having his voice on there, it's immediately recognizable. There's something nostalgic about it, and something that does kind of inspire and give awe to what they have managed to do, which seems like other franchises really still can't quite capture what the MCU has managed here, in having all these different films and all these different stories that are able to come together and bleed apart and all operate individually and together as this just beautiful cohesive network of a franchise. DC has failed. Star Wars, I'd argue, is not handling this properly. Even the legendary monsters, King Kong and all that, but Marvel has been pretty consistent, and Stan Lee is, for better or worse, the godfather of Marvel. So
Right.
I liked hearing the voice. I don't have as many of the hangups, but I feel you. I feel you there. So now that you've shat all over Stan Lee, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the preview calendar for what we're actually getting. I think most of these dates have now been updated here. Let me see if I can add this to the stream. So as far as well, let me do the films first. And big them. As far as the films, we have Black Widow coming up July 9th, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings September 3rd of this year. Eternals is going to be November 5th of this year. That's kind of surprising. For some reason I thought Eternals was later. Oh, and Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be this year. Dang, we're getting 4 films this year.
That's crazy.
Next year, March 25th, we get Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. May 6th, Thor: Love and Thunder. July 8th, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which is the brand new title they just announced today. Captain Marvel's sequel, Captain Marvel 2, is now called The Marvels, and it's coming out November 11th. So 4 films next year. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'm surprised that film is being pushed all the way to 2023.
Me too.
Yeah. And then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 5th, 2023. I mean, both of those, especially since, the end of Endgame actually kind of concluded with us seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor kind of going off into space together. I would think that other film would come a little sooner, but I understand that they fired James Gunn and getting him to get back in the saddle and plan that while he still had obligations to Suicide Squad, probably monkey wrenched that whole thing and push that down the road a little bit.
Yeah, it would have been cool to have an entire movie where it's Thor hanging out with the Guardians and traveling around, but I guess that's not how it's going to be. Oh well.
Yeah, I wonder if we're gonna see them cameo a little bit then in Thor: Love and Thunder before like there's a split between them and Thor goes his own way again. Yeah, I'm not sure. And then we got Fantastic Four once again, kind of popping on screen. And I wanted to ask you about that. How do you feel about seeing the Fantastic Four logo?
Well, I'm excited about it. I feel I haven't seen the Fantastic Four movie that was done by the guy who directed Chronicle.
Josh Trank,
Yes,
something like that.
yes. I heard it was terrible. I mean, I haven't seen the Roger Corman either, so I'm not up on my Fantastic Four movies, but they are one of my favorite teams, and I just would love to see the Galactus and Silver Surfer in an MCU movie and then do justice to it in a way that the second Fantastic Four, the Rise of the Silver Surfer movie, was so bad. I mean, Galactus was a giant cloud of dust. It was the most disappointing thing I've ever seen. I think I actually cried in the movie theater. I was so disappointed.
It was awful. I remember just getting drunk and watching that with my roommates back in college, and we were just laughing at the whole thing. Like, what is this?
It was so bad.
I don't know. Like, I feel like Marvel will finally get to do justice to the characters, but at the same time, when I see that Fantastic Four logo, there's just part of me that cringes at all the other missteps. It's like when I see X-Men now, I'm just kind of like, man, I feel like I've been burned too many times by X-Men.
Yeah. When the MCU started, it was like Iron Man. Why are they leading with Iron Man? No one expected an Iron Man movie to be as popular as it was.
Right.
Because, back it was like X-Men, Spider-Man, and not Fantastic Four, but those were the hot Marvel properties. And then they've shown how to kind of take these lesser known characters and make them popular. It'll be interesting to see how they'll handle one of the most popular Marvel comics that has kind of fallen into it's just not the same as it was. The title was canceled for a long time, pretty recently.
You know what I don't see on here is Blade with Mahershala Ali.
I thought that was a TV show.
Oh, is it?
I think it's a TV show.
Let me check is Blade on here? So here's our list of the upcoming shows. We already covered WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Next is going to be Loki, June 11th. Then What If is coming in the summer, followed by Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which is just Star Wars trolling right there. Secret Invasion, Ironheart, Armor Wars, and an untitled Wakanda series. And still Blade, nowhere to be seen. So I don't know what happened to that project, and I hope it's not dead.
So when I saw it, I saw a list on Rotten Tomatoes today, and it was kind of like above Secret Invasion. Well, the list I saw didn't have Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. It had Blade, Secret Invasion, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. So I'm hoping that we still get Blade as well. Let's go ahead and dive in and talk about what we did see in this trailer then, starting with the Eternals clips, because we get to see just a little bit of this cast of people here, the Eternals, who I had to read about this because it's been a while since I remembered. I think I read like this comic that ran in like 2002, 2003, came out like a new version of the Eternals where it kind of updates you on them. Do you remember that?
It was Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr.
Was
there was like a dreaming celestial in San Francisco that was causing havoc.
It was, I don't really recall what happened in it, and I felt kind of confused, and then I was like, I'm not as familiar with the Eternals. But we see a few clips. We see Angelina Jolie here with her sweet Lord of the Rings looking elven golden sword here. And then we see a picture of the upcoming movie Dune, I think, with Timothée Chalamet.
There's too much water. Too much water for Dune.
Yeah. And then we see the oldest Stark brother and Squad here hanging out in the forest wearing some nice fitted t-shirt. And that was kind of it. There's like one other sequence where we see like them kind of doing the forming up in a line, and you see some little speedster Eternal like run up to the rest of the crew, but it was tiny. I couldn't really see everything that was going on. What do you think?
I would like to point out that other Will Morris corrected me, and Blade is supposed to be a movie, so I got that one wrong.
Oh,
Just want to give him credit for the fact check there. I appreciate it.
Fellow Wills.
Yeah, Will solidarity. But I'm definitely excited about the Eternals. Did you see Nomadland? So Chloe Zhao, who is directing the Eternals, directed that, and it won a bunch of Academy Awards. And I just can't see how she's like pivoting from that to this. Like, it just doesn't make. I mean, the content of that movie, you know, it's like about these people who live out of their RVs, and they're kind of like the forgotten part of society, just like working temp jobs and stuff. And it's so realistic and like so, it really gets you. I mean, it's so moving and depressing, and it's hard to see how. I mean, I'm sure she can do other tones, right?
Mm.
But it'll be interesting to see how she transitions into a Marvel movie. And I wonder, you know, with her Academy Awards and all that, if, you know, she'll be able to kind of put her own unique stamp on it, where there are some things in Marvel movies that can feel a little like the same from one to another, which is like I feel like a pro and a con.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested to see what she does. And the cast looks good too. I mean, Kumail Nanjiani, I loved him. He was so funny in Silicon Valley, but then he also, there's that movie, The Big Sick.
Yeah.
That he did, and that just showed a whole other side to his acting. So I'm really excited to see him, and I hope he's kind of prominent in it. And as far as Marvel stuff, the Celestials are some of my favorite Jack Kirby creations, and I'm really hoping that we see them in action on the big screen. I mean, those are like the most epic pages in comic books are Celestials.
I mean, anyone who's seen Jack Kirby art it's just, it's incredible. I think that Thor Ragnarok had such a good homage to Jack Kirbyism. I hope that the Eternals kind of borrows a little bit off of that aesthetic, but based on the 4 or 3 scenes that we've seen from the upcoming film, I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's going to do that. Let's see. I pulled up on Wikipedia like their little write-up of the Eternals here and what the premise is. It says, after an unexpected tragedy following the events of Avengers Endgame, the Eternals, an immortal race of aliens created by the Celestials who have secretly lived on Earth for over 7,000 years, reunite to protect humanity from their evil counterparts, the Deviants. Which, I mean, if your name's the Deviants, you have to be a bad guy.
Maybe do some rebranding.
Yeah. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Maybe don't call yourself that if you want to be sympathized with. So they have been around for 7,000 years, and they saw everything going down with Ultron, with Loki, with Thanos, and they're just like, we'll sit these out. They felt that confident? What do you think of that? I think that's a little shady.
Well, it's kind of similar to how they were introduced in the comic, because you have, in the comics, you have mutants, you have Inhumans, right? 2 different, like, I don't know what the correct term is, but, you know, different subspecies or whatever, you know, of humans living alongside us in secret. And now we're finding out. And then here Jack Kirby comes in the 70s, and he's like, I don't want to mess with any of that stuff. I'm going to bring up a third and a fourth one, the Eternals and the Deviants. You know, I mean, it gets a little ridiculous. Like, how many secret societies can be living on Earth at one point,
right,
before things get a little crowded? Now, there aren't Inhumans in the MCU, right? I mean, there's a TV show, but is that canon?
I feel like maybe we can kind of ignore it for now. I mean, this is kind of, you know, we're going to get to this a little bit with what they're planning to do with Phase 4. but it does seem like maybe they're getting too crowded, and they're going to lean on the multiverse to allow them to explore different channels, not in the same universe. I don't know. Yeah, but I remember seeing that part, and I was like, well, that they just were hiding out during Endgame, and I was like, does Thanos's Infinity Stones, would those have allowed him to wipe out the Eternals, or do they exist outside of um the realm of what the Infinity Stones can affect, since they are beings created by the Celestials?
If you want to go to the comics to answer that question, right? Because that's the only authority we can turn to at
Right.
this point. The interesting thing about that question is that Thanos himself is an eternal from the moon of Saturn, Titan. And the idea is that, but
Wait,
who
Thanos
is
is an Eternal?
he's a son of an eternal, and it's like the question is he, you know, a deviant, or is he an eternal? And he's kind of got that, like, you know, I was raised by eternals, but, you know, kind of treated as an other the whole time, so it's kind of got that wounded childhood thing going on.
Right. Well, then what does that make Star-Lord then? Because he's the son of a Celestial, if I'm correct, right?
That,
Isn't
yes.
the living planet, his dad is a Celestial, and therefore he should be a lot more powerful than he even recognized. Although it seemed like in the second movie he gave up that ability. But can he really? Do you think he can really give that up, or he probably still holds on to something that maybe is dormant and will come back?
I think that they, you know, they kind of, in the first movie, right, that's kind of the end. It's like he's stronger than you would think.
Mhm.
I don't I don't remember the part about him giving it up in the second movie, but yeah, I could definitely see him still having some of that power, because you don't, they probably want to bring that back. You don't want to keep someone depowered
Yeah,
forever.
I don't know. It's always funny that he just kind of he's quick and has a bunch of gadgets and just kind of like throws stuff around and has a little jetpack. And that's cute and all, but Thor's gonna murder you.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. Yeah, so let's jump over to talking about Wakanda Forever then. Black Panther now has the new official title here, and we have a little title card for Wakanda Forever. And we all are aware that Chadwick Boseman tragically died. He was battling cancer secretly for a while and died, and that has kind of thrown a little bit of a monkey wrench into the upcoming project for Wakanda Forever, as far as like, where do they go with the cowl, I guess. Like, where will that kind of get passed off? Who will be the next Black Panther? And I'm wondering if I mean, would it be Shuri? Would Letitia Wright step up? What do you think?
I think that would be very cool to see. I would hope they would kind of go with an established character and explore that. I was I was reading about the production of this, and apparently there was only like a 2-month delay. So I don't know I don't know the ins and outs of movie production, right? But
Right.
it makes me wonder what their plans were for this movie.
I mean, that's quite a quick, adjustment to make. And I feel like, wasn't there some controversy that recently happened with Letitia Wright, where I was like, oh no, like they're leaning on you to potentially take over the franchise. And I feel like she was like being like really anti-mask and or saying transphobic. Oh wait, here. I'm gonna read about it. In December 2020, she received backlash over sending some videos where she was questioning COVID-19 vaccine, and she was skeptical on climate change, accusing China of spreading COVID-19, and making transphobic comments. Oh man, she was hitting a whole bunch of them. I was gonna say trifecta, but I think that's a quadfecta right there.
It's too many. It's too many.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're like, What are you doing? We're trying to pass a friend. Just shut up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I hadn't heard, what was going on after that. Subsequently, she quit social media. That's what it says. Um, but it'll be interesting if that just kind of gets forgotten, or if there's kind of a resurgence of, hey, do you remember how she said all that? Once the next trailer kind of comes out, or this movie comes back.
I feel like Disney has a limit, because there was I think her name is Gina Carano, who
Hmm.
played, I can't remember her character's name in The Mandalorian.
Right.
And they basically fired her for similar statements on social media.
Yeah. Yeah, Will Morris says, yeah, she was anti-vax and now she's anti-speaking. Very funny. Yeah. So it's kind of disappointing to find that there's already this potential problem there. I mean, I would just say, like, why not? Cara Dune was the name of the character, by the
Right.
way.
Thank you. Thank you,
Um,
Tukako.
yeah, I mean, I would think, like, that did come out. That was a problem. And maybe she should try and get ahead of that, or they should all try and get ahead of that and come back out and say, you know what, I thought about it and I apologize. I was in the wrong. And, I, doing that wouldn't, I feel like they try to, like, sweep stuff under the rug and then hope people will forget, and people won't forget. So it's better to try and make amends.
Yeah, people keep receipts these days.
Yep. Okay, and then the next exciting one was us learning about the Marvels, which is going to be the renamed version for Captain Marvel 2. And what's exciting about this is it's not only going to be Captain Marvel, it's going to be also Photon, aka Monica Rambeau, and Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. It seems like all three of them are going to be teaming up in this movie. And that sounds super badass to me,
Definitely.
because I guess this will come out after Miss Marvel. Am I right on the timeline there?
Miss Marvel TV series late 2021. And
Mhm.
then this is November 2022. So
Sweet. Yeah.
definitely.
So, the work they already put in for Monica Rambeau's character. I think most people are super excited to see her in the movie now, because of how they gave this kind of origin story and established how she has powers. I wonder if they're going to feel like they need to retread that a little bit in the movie to establish to the non-TV show watching audience how she got her powers, but maybe not. Maybe it'll be like, yeah, go watch the show. But the fact that they're going to have Kamala Khan in there as well, that's just gonna be a lot of fun. Because in the comics, she's pretty adorable and, good-hearted, and just a big fangirl of Captain Marvel, and to see her kind of interacting could be cool. I did want to ask you. It looks like the villain is a Michael Korvac. Are you familiar with Michael Korvac?
Yes, he was originally a Guardians of the Galaxy villain. There was like the Guardians of the Galaxy were introduced in an Avengers storyline where like Michael Korvac is in the future and he's got power cosmic or whatever, and then he's wreaking havoc in the past. And the Guardians of the Galaxy chase him to the past where they meet today's Avengers, and then they fight. And there's a sequel too. I think the first one was called Korvac Quest, and the sequel was called Korvac Saga, and that was only in annuals. And I recently reread the second one. I haven't read the first one, so I think he could be good.
Yeah, the little write-up I found for Michael Korvac is a cybernetically enhanced human who attempts to use the power cosmic to reshape the world as he sees fit, which, sounds a little bit kind of like what Thanos was doing as well. And anyone who has, cosmic powers, just reshape the world to how you want it. But initially, when they were looking to do casting, I was reading that they put out that they want either a Michael B. Jordan type or a Timothy Chalamet type
Mm.
for the character. But then ultimately they decided to go a gender bending route, and they cast actress Zawe Ashton. I'm not familiar with some of the other projects she's worked on, but I guess she's going to be playing Michael Korvac, and it reminds me that Michael is becoming a popular sci-fi woman's name now, like with Michael. Um, shit, now I'm forgetting the name. Michael from Star Trek Discovery.
I haven't seen it.
Ah.
I've only seen the first. I know. I need to see it.
It's
I
great.
don't have. Yeah, I want to see it. I think that's interesting. Well, in the comics, it's like Michael Korvac's like super beautiful or handsome or whatever, and that's part of it. And Power Cosmic is exciting because Power Cosmic is traditionally a power that Galactus bestows upon his heralds.
Michael Burnham. Thank you, Takako. Michael Burnham. Jeez.
She's got our back. We don't even have to do any research. Just like, that one person, she's like, oh yeah.
I should just send out invites and have you guys just come join us and like shoot the shit. Yeah. So, I think that looking at the two announcements for those films, we also have like little title cards for some of the other upcoming projects. I think there's let's see what we got here. We have Thor, Love and Thunder, which looks like some 80s swords and sandals kind of fun hokiness that they're going to play around with. Then we have Doctor Strange, we have Eternals, Wakanda Forever, there's Spider-Man, No Way Home. I don't know. One of my favorite MCU films was Spider-Man Homecoming. I loved it. I love Michael Keaton. I thought he was one of the best villains that we've seen because it was like kind of like really relatable, like blue collar villain that was being screwed over like multiple times by people like Tony Stark, and then just decided, you know what, I'm gonna rob you, and I'm gonna start selling that stuff on the black market. And I found it kind of relatable, and I liked that movie a lot. And then the second movie, it was okay. It just kind of felt a little sloppy and didn't have as seamless like an arc to it. So I'm not sure how I feel about the third film in this franchise, especially since a lot of the rumors are that it's almost going to kind of be a retread of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I really feel like they should have gone. I'm hoping that from the casting, it sounds like they are going that direction, which is just so disappointing because, you already have that movie and it's perfect. Why make it again in the MCU?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it seems lazy.
For sure.
I'm hoping that's not the case. Yeah, and then, Fantastic Four, I don't know. It's going to be so far away that I can't even like get my hopes up about particular casting anymore. Like, everyone wants to be like, oh, it's got to be John Krasinski. But John Krasinski is going to be like 80 years old by the time they finally get around to making this. Probably not. I don't know. Yeah. And so I guess, the next thing I wanted to discuss with you is what is phase 4? Like, if we take a look at what each of the phases were for the MCU. Phase 1, how would you describe phase 1?
It's just like, setting up the plot. Like, we meet all these heroes. We kind of like learn the world. It's like the world building setup.
Origin of like the three biggest characters. I mean, I guess fourth if you want to include that Hulk was technically in there. But yeah, you get Captain America, you get Iron Man, you even get Iron Man 2, I think, in phase 1. And then you also get Thor and Hulk. And then you get them all coming together for Avengers. And so they, establish all these big characters, establish what this world is, and that it needs someone to protect them. And then that's kind of the initial arc of phase 1. Phase 1 is we have to take very rudimentary steps to try and build up what this world is. And take note, DC, you don't just jump in with a bad guy and then try and introduce all the characters all in the same movie. It makes it sloppy. They took their time and made each character special, make us care about them, and then they didn't have to spend as much time, filling in and developing those characters in the movie, in the final Avengers movie itself. There, we already knew about them. Phase 2, what would you say there?
It's kind of like, it's kind of like the first conflict, and you see things kind of like get to this lower point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things kind of start crumbling, I guess. It ultimately culminates in Age of Ultron. I guess it almost kind of has this little bit of like a Watchmen vibe of like, we're putting trust in these heroes, but like, where is their accountability? And I think Civil War is Civil War technically phase 3?
I think it's phase 3.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
But Civil War seems almost more emblematic of phase 2, in that, we establish these initial characters, we start having it like the world explode a little bit more, but everything culminates in there's a problem with accountability with some of these characters. And Tony Stark creates Ultron, and that is pretty much a catalyst for a lot of things breaking. It fractures the group and trust. It forms new villains, including Zemo, who ultimately are able to capitalize on that and break the group entirely. And phase 3 kind of does a couple things. It suddenly introduces magic, which I guess you could argue Thor had already kind of introduced this idea of magic a little bit, but it introduces magic and aliens a little bit more on a greater scale, and then breaks apart the band, only to have a universal threat bring everyone back together for the most epic battle thus far. And I don't think they'll ever eclipse it. I would be surprised if they could ever eclipse what Endgame did.
That was so amazing. Just seeing all these characters come together, face this huge threat and then lose. I mean,
right.
It was so good. And just, Thanos is such a like larger than life.
Ended on Infinity War and never did Endgame, man.
It would have been great. I mean, I would have been like, yeah, that is awesome. Thanos is the hero and he won.
Yeah. Thanos was kind of the hero of a lot of phase 3, or the protagonist of it,
right?
Like, especially Infinity War. But it seems like, behind the scenes, you see the machinations of, I guess that's the other thing. Like, we had, through the course of all those films, in the background, they were threading through these Infinity Stones, and that was going to be this element that built up to the end of phase 3. Phase 4, it looks like they're going to be exploring the multiverse and weird magic, and maybe King the Conqueror is going to be established as a big bad. But I don't know if we're seeing something that is like these puzzle pieces being threaded together like the Infinity Stones in the previous films. Do you think that we have those kind of elements still being interspersed?
I haven't seen anything that seems like that to me. I could see we have WandaVision, right? And like the chaos magic, and then she's going to be in the Doctor Strange movie. Like maybe there'll be something involving that, but I would be disappointed if there was another kind of magical object or cosmic object that was served the same function.
Right.
I mean, they can't go back to it. They did it. Now they have to figure something else out. And I think I can't see where they're going to where it'll feel as cohesive and end with the same kind of summation of it that brings it all together.
Who's King the Conqueror? I'm not as familiar with this character.
He's a time traveler He, messes with the time stream, goes back and forth. So I think his face is blue, and he wears like a purple robe or something like that.
Yeah. They're gonna have the lead actor from the Lovecraft Country. I think he's gonna be playing King the Conqueror, which is exciting.
Nice.
He's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so is do you think the idea is that when Tony Stark helped them figure out how to effectively time travel, that he pretty much opened up Earth to a new threat of King the Conqueror, that like he disrupted something and now King's gonna come in?
Or Kang's going to come and create all these other, split divergent timelines by coming back and changing things in the past. And then you have now all these multiverses multiplying. There was a storyline called the Illuminati that kind of ran through some Avengers books. And basically Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and two other people, Mr. Fantastic, they kind of, there's this threat where like there were so many multiverses and so many other Earths that somehow they were threatening to destroy each other. And they were like going in and doing something to like basically like pop those multiverse bubbles and like destroy entire universes because they were going to like crowd out the main Earth timeline.
So they're just like destroying other universes?
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. But
wow.
I hadn't thought about that in the connection with this, but if you have the idea that anytime you change the past, you create a new multiverse, a new universe in the multiverse, and then you have a time traveling supervillain.
Right.
I mean, it could just the problems could multiply exponentially.
Yeah, I wonder if Loki seems like it's going to potentially explore a little bit of that with their time police that are going through and trying to correct a lot of these issues. And that's got to play a little bit into them jumping around to try and fix their problems. Anytime you're traveling through time to fix your own personal problems, you're probably creating a bunch of other problems for other people in other streams. And that wasn't their concern. They're like, we're looking out for us. I wonder how that's going to be addressed. Because once again, I'm pull this back up. This is our list of films. Black Widow, we could probably go ahead and ignore as far as how much is going to have like play into the bigger theme of Phase 4. This is a little bit more of a flashback movie to probably pay a little bit better tribute to the first female Marvel hero that they just kind of killed off ultimately. And then and Shang-Chi with the Legend of the Ten Rings, I guess it might go into a little bit more of magic stuff, kind of playing off of like Doctor Strange a little bit. The Eternals is gonna dive back into more space and cosmic powers. Spider-Man's just gonna be another little low-level street thing. No, it's probably it might do multiverse stuff. That's what we're not sure of. Spider-Man very well. Did you hear the theory about like it could potentially be Kraven the Hunter, but Kraven the Hunter is a time jumper or interdimensional traveler, and so he's going through and trying to kill all the Spider-Men of every universe?
There was a different villain who did that. There was a whole comic crossover called Spider-Verse, and there was like a whole family of basically psychic vampires who fed on spider people.
Wow. And then Thor Love and Thunder I feel is going to be kind of just a little bit campy fun. Black Panther is probably going to be relatively insular as well, like Spider-Man. Well, maybe not. Maybe Spider-Man's not going to be. The Marvels might deal with space, but with Kamala Khan, maybe it'll be a little bit more just Earth grounded. And it isn't really until Ant-Man Quantumania that we're going to get into probably some weird quantum universe and time jumping stuff. Guardians 3 is probably going to be another little family story. And then Fantastic Four, I wonder if it's going to be the birth of everything. Or they haven't put an Avengers type punctuation mark to end what is Phase 4, I guess. I don't know which of these films is supposed to be the end of it.
And then you have Secret Invasion, which, like Civil War,
Right.
was a big crossover in the comics. And if it is an invasion of shape-shifting scrolls replacing people like it was in the comics, I mean, that could impact every movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's like a reviewer's saying, yeah, at this point it's confirmed No Way Home isn't going to be a small street level movie. And that's right. I mean, if they're bringing in Alfred Molina and Tobey Maguire and all those people, no, it's going to be something much bigger and probably weirder. I don't know.
I like what Will Morris is saying, that Kang's got to be in Loki Vision. That'd be the perfect place to introduce him.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I guess I'm just a little bit confused. I don't see the cohesive scale of. I at least personally liked how they were chunking this into phases and everything felt of a complete section, a complete phase or segment. And now after the events of Endgame, with all the TV shows coming out, with all this lists of movies that are coming out, it feels big. It feels like it's just exploding. And I don't know how to classify and categorize everything into a nice little package anymore.
It's sprawling for sure.
And maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe I should just shut up and enjoy everything. But I liked the packaging and the categorization. Do you have any other final thoughts on Phase 4 or this trailer or the Eternals or what we have in store?
I think that of all the movies that are coming out, probably the one I'm the most excited about is Thor: Love and Thunder, just because I loved Ragnarok so much. And so I'm looking forward to that. That's like the known quantity that I'm like, this is going to be my shit.
Yeah, I think Taika Waititi's sensibilities really just worked for me as well. And that beautiful, strange blend of silly playfulness and really kick-ass action scenes. I'm like, okay, yeah, give me some more of that. I don't know. Quantumania sounds like it might finally capture an Ant-Man movie that I'd be excited about.
You don't like Ant-Man?
I think it's okay. Ant-Man seemed like so small potatoes, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp was not as good.
Grant, this might be the end. I might not be able to appear on this podcast anymore. I mean, I live in Kansas City. Paul Rudd is a hometown hero. How dare you besmirch his name?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Will, I am sorry.
Yeah.
All right. I take it back. It's my favorite of the MCU movies.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a sellout. Look at that. Please come back. I think we'll go ahead and end things there. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And I know that we uncharacteristically did this again on a Monday night instead of Friday, but I'm not going to be able to do this on Friday this week. Hopefully next week I'll be able to get back into the regular group of Friday night podcasting MCU. But, I was glad that you were able to join us, Will. And I want to say, where can people find you?
They can find me at hypercastle.com or on Twitter and Instagram at William Cardini. And thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
Yeah. You guys can follow us at MCU Pod. You can like us or you subscribe to us at youtube.com/MCU Pod. And stay tuned because, Loki is right around the corner. It's going to be here June 11th. We're excited for that. But until then, we're just going to be kind of discussing what else is going on in the MCU verse. And we are, keeping it loose. Loose hang.
Loose hang.
Until next time, MCU later.
Peace.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.